Most High God bless. Most High God bless. Hold on. Let me make sure this microphone is on. I have a tendency to turn off my microphone when I'm not using my phone because Google's voice feature will activate sometimes. But anyway, I hope that you all are blessed, having a blessed day, having a blessed whenever you're watching this. Um, some of my thoughts. I was talking to my mother the other day, and we were having a conversation, and she was trying to articulate to someone that men and women are not the same, and we're not, and we're not the same, and we're not equal. Well, yes, this is interesting. We are very much equal. However, our equivalence, right? What balances out this stoichiometry that God has done. Stoichiometry, for you all who may not know what I struggle with, is a chemistry concept where you have to balance out the chemical compounds in this equation for it to be stable. I'm not gonna get into like the math of it, but that's the concept, right? For example, when you're making coffee, you may do half of it creamer, or a quarter of it creamer, a quarter of it milk, the other half of it actual coffee to balance out the coffee, right? That's stoichiometry. Rather on uh, a very macro level. When I say that men and women are not equal, I mean that we are not equal in the components we try to compare ourselves. We are equal as humans because we are humans. We are equal as children of God because we are children of God, right? We're equal as people deserving respect because why? We are here and we are taught to love ourselves. So in that facet, we are very much equal. But as it pertains to some strength categories, right? I'll give you this detailed explanation so you can see where I'm going with this, right? There are women out there who are freakishly strong, and there are dudes out there who are freakishly weak. And then there are dudes out there who are freakishly strong, and there are women out there who are freakishly weak. So men and women are not equal because even within our own genders, there are individuals who are not equal within the other people who fit the parameters of the gender. You see what I'm saying? So we are not equal. No human is stat wise, right? Stats, i.e., intelligence, strength, magic. Jesus, if you listen, right? None of us are going to be numerically equal all the time, but those are not the components in which we should be trying to measure equality, right? Things that can change should never be the thing that you should measure how you are equal, right? You see what I'm saying? Uh, a person's heart should not change. That is what you should measure equality off of. How do you treat people, right? I guess technically even that could change, but to keep this conversation as simple as possible, um, how we try to measure if men and women are equal are saying, well, men can run 10 miles, women should be able to run 10 miles too. And not all men can run 10 miles. Very few, actually. So that's not a good metric to determine. Well, work is a decent way to determine it because we all have to put in these hours. But the issue that I find in Western society is that the area in which one person excels is the metric in the realm, the measuring stick, if you will, that they want to use for everyone else. And that is not fair. That is not fairness, right? Because we should not be trying to determine if men and women are equal based off how many push-ups they can do, because men may win that, right? Uh, we have a stronger upper body, just by and large. We should not be trying to measure if men or women are equal based off who has the most college degrees, right? Because women gonna have that field, especially black women, right? But does that make you more or less human? Does how many push-ups you can do make you more or less human? Right? If I had no arms, I would not be able to qualify for equality by the standards that we use in this Western society. So when I say that men and women are not equal, I mean that we're not equal in the dimensions that we try to make ourselves equal, right? To play to this game, to placate, I suppose, right? But when I'm saying men or women are equal, I'm saying I see you as equal not because you have a vagina or because you have a pair of testicles or because you can give birth or because you can piss standing up, but because all of us are human beings, right? We don't need to go further than that. But we are not equal, right? in the same aspect, right? Two things can be true. We can be equal and not equal. We used race, the humanity used the color of a person's skin as a measuring mark for equality, right? If we've already determined that there are variations in strength, we should also use that same algorithm or that same metric to determine that there are variations also in skin tone. So that should not be a good metric. But you have a heart, you breathe. I have a heart, I breathe. Obviously, some people have variation in heart sizes, but to use that as a very standard metric, you are a human being. We are equal, right? I would go so far as to say all living life, like dogs and cats and things, but we don't have to get into all of that. But what I find is we try to use these these very rudimentary, these very um, I want to say childish categorical selections to determine equality when it's not necessarily about um, even what we it's not necessarily about who's the strongest or who's the smartest, but it really just boils down to all of us being children of God, that second commandment. um yeah, that was a lot. There's much more I could say about that. There's much more to divulge that I've come to the conclusion of. And obviously, these are just my opinions, you all. None of this is fact. I am not God, so none of the things I say are fact. But through some observation and reflection, this is something that I've learned. Like we are so hell bent on trying to prove that we are equal, right? Consider, if we are so equal, why are we constantly trying to describe or constantly trying to articulate the outputs that we have determined that have made us equal? I.e., I'm equal to you because we both have this. But if I have to explain to another human being that I am equal to this human being, am I truly equal? No equal ever had to explain themselves, right? So I tell my brothers and my sisters, stop trying to push for equality, because pushing for equality in this dimension that you are trying to push forward, in these realms that you are trying to push forward, already it's already showcasing to you the issue in this system, and is that as a human being you are not already considered equal. That is not a system I think we should be partaking in. If this system has saying you need to articulate and you need to give me all of these other findings, you need to come up with this rhetoric and this debate to tell me why you believe to me that you are equal to me, maybe I don't need to be engaging with this individual, because if you can't already see our spirits, then you know what I'm saying. It's not really a conversation that can be had. You've already made up your mind. It's like trying to articulate or trying to have a conversation with the individual. I know many of you all, my brothers who are married, when your woman don't want to hear that lie, why was you late? She don't want to hear that you and the boys was out on a Call of Duty or drink. She really want to punch you in the face, but she's giving you. You see what I'm saying? So when the person's mind is made up on something, there's very little you can do to persuade them, unless you are Loki, which is hey, shout out to Marvel. That was a pun for that. Y'all should just make me the Black Panther. I'm just gonna put that out there. God bless. But I hope that made sense to you all, and I hope that you all can see that all of us are equal. Children are equal. Cats are equal, dogs are equal, all of us are life, right? And all life is sacred. But as it pertains to humanity, it is far past time, I think, that we begin to release some of these childish mental gymnastics that we play to otherwise prolong or exacerbate the worsening condition of humanity through our own, I would say, forced psychosis, through trying so hard to be different that we end up right back all being the same. Anyway, Most High God bless. Most High God bless. Most High God bless.